What if I told you that the most powerful plants on this property we are about to visit aren't in any nursery catalog, and one of them might just save your life? Today we get introduced to an ice cream banana growing in a California valley that's not supposed to. A velvety mystery plant that farmers brew into medicine for their sheep, and persimmons that taste like coffee cake straight off the tree. Let's go behind the fence of a real urban botanical garden and every single thing you could be growing in your backyard right now. I help homeowners, serious gardeners, and businesses fix plant and landscape problems using professional horticulture and contractor-tested methods without wasting money on gimmicks. And don't forget, like and subscribe so you never miss what's growing next. Okay, so what I'm getting from this whole property of yours is that you've got a botanical gardens happening over here. I am so impressed by the fact that you know all of the names of the plants. This one's Susie, that one's George, no, Persimmon.
Persimmon. I'm like, well, they taste better when you name them.
Yeah, they do, huh?
So George sounds good.
All right.
Suzanne, maybe.
Maybe, huh? Okay, so are these the regular persimmons? Are they the ones that are real like gooey and all that?
No, these are the fuyu.
Oh.
They're not the giant fuyu, but they're just the regular fuyu.
So they're going to get about baseball size.
Yeah.
They won't get softball size.
Yeah, like a Granny Smith apple size. So you could take them, wipe them down, and eat them right off the tree.
I'm not a big fan of those. I like the gooey ones. You open them up and they get all over the place, and it's just
like the ones that go in a pie.
Yeah. Only right then and there. But they have that real strong astringent taste over there, and it kind of that part I don't like about them, but I like the innards. But you had told me that you have one over here that will wake you up.
Yes, it's like a coffee cake persimmons.
Coffee cake.
There's a hint of.
Have you had one of those yet? Coffee cake?
A hint of coffee cake. So it's like, you know, that with some coffee and
I'm looking forward when that one starts producing. I'm coming back.
I'll let you know.
I'm coming back. We have a mutual relative that has a persimmon farm. We've actually filmed at his place before, and they're the apple ones.
Yeah.
So he takes them and of course he sells them, but he also takes them, he dries them as well, dehydrates them.
Yeah.
And I do love
those are
these.
good snacks, especially with a lot of the baking apples, like the Anna apple, the there's another one, the is it not Cavendish? I'm thinking banana.
The Golden Dorset.
The Golden Dorset.
They're fresh eating apples too.
Yeah, but I like them better when they're dehydrated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
they dehydrate well.
Now, if you're wondering where she came from, she was the one who was actually behind the camera the whole time.
Yes. Yeah, and she knows more about these particular plants right here.
Okay, so I need you to stand in the center over here because we have to come off of our microphones. And as we were walking the property over here, I saw these things, you pointed them out, and I have to tell you, I have never seen these before. I've seen plants that have fuzzy leaves on them, but this is
soft.
They're super soft.
So if you run out of toilet paper,
no kidding, this would be a really
right
good
here,
thing for them.
this is our plant.
But we're not using it for that.
No.
What are we using this for?
This is a mullein.
What?
Mullein.
Mullein.
M-O-L-L-E-I-N.
Something like that. Okay, we'll make sure we put the proper spelling on here. But tell me about this thing.
It is a medicinal plant. It grows in the wild pretty much everywhere. And you harvest the leaves, and you can harvest the flower and the seeds, and it's like a 2-year plant, so biennial. It only has a 2-year lifespan. So.
And then it just dies off on you.
Yeah.
But
it will reseed and die.
Okay,
but
so
it's used. The leaves are used for. You dry them and you make tea out of them, whatever. It's good for respiratory problems like bronchitis, COPD, any. If you have pneumonia.
I pulled this off intentionally because it's one way in the back and it's sickly.
Yeah, and it's
because we do have a couple little problems here.
Yeah, you would want like the like the younger,
The inside. Oh, look at that. That's beautiful.
tender leaves.
I can't tell you how soft this is.
Yeah. Very velvety.
They're definitely soft.
Isn't that cool? I hope we're not ruining this by touching it like this.
Yeah, it's almost
Wow.
like a not velvet, but it's like a cross between a velvet and a suede, maybe.
Yeah.
Like in between.
I have never seen like this before. I've seen plants where they're really soft on top or soft on the bottom, but the top is real scratchy or something like that. What I don't understand about this plant, and I am going to learn about it, is that you have it in blazing hot sun, and you've got it in a container.
Yep.
And the container is going to get super duper hot. In fact, it's super duper hot right now. And and look how beautiful it is.
Yeah.
You know, the little occasional watering that you're giving to it. Now, you said that the all right, I'm going to take it. Normally when you have a leaf, you take it and you crush it up like this. It doesn't smell good or bad. I can't figure out what that. So obviously it doesn't have much of a
No, just a
No, I mean, the tea is, I don't know, it's pretty mild.
Well, what I thought was really interesting is how excited you got when you said you actually brewed this up for the sheep when they're not feeling good,
Yes,
and they actually
Yes.
respond to it.
yes.
That is so cool.
Yeah, and being the sheep that, we don't vaccinate the sheep, we don't give them any wormers. I mean, they're all like 100%.
No antibiotics.
We can't really say organic, but there's no grains, all grass, and they're all natural. So
this
that's a
this
big
is a
thing.
real holistic way
Yeah,
of
yeah.
treating them. And you say people can actually make tea and drink this themselves. Oh my.
Yeah, you could buy mullein tea leaves in any health food type store. They're scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very common.
So how do you take this? You just take this and you just put it out in the sun, let it dry out? Or?
Yeah, you could, or just dry it. So you
Like
like
in a
dehydrator. You use a
Oh.
dehydrator. You could do it in the sun. You could probably put it in the oven on low heat. Ideally you want to harvest the leaves, young leaves of the second year of the plant.
Oh.
And then you also can harvest the flowers,
All right. So
and it will flower. I think we're on year 2 on this one, that's why it's so big.
what's interesting about this, take a look at this. Look at so this looks like it might be the center of the plant because it's got new growth. There's only one stalk in here.
Correct.
There's only one stalk. But if you pull over here, it's got another
Another one coming out.
one coming out of it. That is so cool. Well, thank you for sharing this with me. This is really exciting.
The other fun thing about it gets about 10 feet tall
Oh,
with the flower.
therefore, the reason why we keep it in the pot. Okay, so not long ago, I filmed a television show where they were growing, of all things, sugarcane. And that's just something we don't grow in Southern California.
No, we grow
Yeah.
everything else but sugarcane.
Yeah. Well, almost everything else, because what we're standing in front of is and especially out here in the valley, you're not supposed to be growing bananas. What is up with that? And this is the edible banana. This is not a plantain, is it?
Not a plantain. What they call this is an ice cream banana.
Okay, and how big is it going to get?
Probably 3/4 of the size of a normal banana.
Okay. Wow. So bananas, and you don't only have one plant, you have several of them growing over here.
Yeah.
Of course, these particular plants, they grow by division, and you have to, separate them, and you can plant them and they'll grow. They're not necessarily the prettiest of plants,
Right.
because you'll get this right here. Now, a lot of people will misunderstand this and mistake it for a giant bird of paradise, because it has the same type of leaf, being real big like this. But normally a giant bird of paradise isn't getting shredded like this. And the shredding is a natural thing. It's also because you get a little wind through here
And it's going to shred them.
and it's going to shred them. And what's really fascinating about this is that a lot of people don't know this, and you're never going to be able to experience this again. There used to be a banana plantation in Southern California.
kidding.
No, it was right on the coast. We'll call it Central California, Central Coast of California. There's a small plot of land that somebody grew dozens and dozens of different types of bananas. And the guy had the place open for people to come and visit, and you could pick the bananas, and I don't think he was making any money on the thing. But it was such an anomaly. It was really cool to know that, wow, they had the perfect environmental conditions for that. You have the perfect environmental conditions for this.
Yeah, it's just the right area, and it's protected. It gets
Yeah.
some sun in the morning, and
And if you were to take this and probably move this anywhere else, I'll bet you it dies.
it probably, so
Yeah.
it probably needs to go in the ground right here. Yeah.
You know what I would do? I would take a couple of these smaller ones just to test drive it and put them next to the kiwi.
Ah.
Maybe that would be, because if the kiwi's growing, this
Then
might
this-
grow.
right.
Maybe.
Ah,
But
yeah.
but definitely, this one right here, don't move it. In fact, I almost am thinking, just cut the container off, build some soil around it.
Build it up and put it right there. Leave it. Don't disturb it.
Don't disturb it.
I
Just
think
have-
I'm with you on that.
Have it grow like that. But boy, all right, so when you're ready and these things are going to be picked, you got to call me so we can have ourselves a banana split.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Vanilla ice cream.
And what did you call this again?
Ice cream banana.
An ice cream
It's
banana.
an ice cream banana.
Oh, we don't even need the ice cream. We've already got it in the name of
Well,
the
I'm kind of,
plant.
I don't want to put my hopes too high and it
Yeah.
tasting like ice
How
cream.
did you get a plant like this?
Well, we heard about it and we're looking for bananas that would grow in the
In the heat.
heat zone. I think it's 9B, but I think we're 10A now because they shifted the zoning for.
They did.
Yeah, so it's 10A,
Okay.
and but still the same. So found these locally and thought, what the heck, give it a shot.
Give it a shot. Okay, so what he's talking about is the USDA zone map. It's a good guideline to have because, like you said, it changed. It's no longer what it was. In fact, when you go on the website, it'll even tell you. We're just kind of guessing, maybe not in these words, but we're just kind of guessing, uses it as a guideline because what he's got over here are these microenvironments. And this is a great example of one. The kiwi is a great example of them. These microenvironments to where the plants are growing uber awesome, but if he was to move them anywhere else on the property, because in the summer, what's the average temperature? 4,000 degrees?
It's like 3,500.
Yeah.
Beyond melting point. So like anywhere, it could be, 90 to 110.
Yeah.
So-
And these are not going to live, I don't care what they say, in a zone 10A, 10B, 10XYZ. They're not going to live in a true environment like that. But this microenvironment, oh my goodness, this is beautiful. I absolutely love it. And how are they getting irrigated?
Hand watered.
Hand watering them. Oh, she's on, right here. I'm the reason why. That's too funny. Great. Well,
Yeah.
listen, it's been a blast coming out here and showing the things that you do on urban farming. People don't have to do this on a mass scale, but you do have to be zoned, not USDA zoned, but you have to be zoned with your city to understand what you can and can't grow. Over at the thingsgreen.com Botanical Gardens, when I bought the property, I was zoned for 1 cow and 2 sheep. And within a year, they changed the whole thing to residential. So that kind of stuff changes as well. Now, if I had that cow and sheep, I would have been grandfathered in.
Yeah.
So, which is a totally different show in itself. But that being said, check with your local city.
Check the city
hall.
websites usually have all the info, the zoning codes and all that, what you can and can't do. But I think the sooner that people look into it and start applying what they can do, less likely for them to not be grandfathered into doing it.
Yeah.
So I
Like
think
that.
it would be a good thing to.
Well, much success over here. This is
Yeah.
exciting stuff.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, I'm a
It's
little.
a lot of work.
I'm a little worried because he put a rake and shovel over by my car door, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know
Well,
what that's about.
you still don't know how to get out of here, do you?
Obviously, I got some mucking to do.
Got you here.
Thank you very much.
Very welcome.